I've not covered a lot from what's been going on, the news headlines. I want to take the opportunity today to have a brief analysis of the major headlines, inshallah, and when we resume again, we can have a proper dialogue on these topics. Well, they are heavy headlines, and I will try and keep it as brief as possible, inshallah. This first brief is to deal with the final days of Jammeh promise coming. Jammeh promise homecoming. I still need some coffee. I'm just waking up. Salam, bro. Jammeh homecoming. There's a lot more to talk about. There's a lot more to talk about based on many opinions around, or the failure of leadership. And this is not only the failure of Barrow, but this is the failure of opposition. This is the failure of civil society to have finally take this opportunity to deal with this issue in a way and manner that it's supposed to be dealt with. Dealt with in a way that we recognize as people, as civilized people, as progressive people, how someone like Jammeh should be dealt with. To stand with the victims and say it very clearly. What we know is not what we believe, it's what we know that had happened to our country. We know what Jammeh have done to our people, and the people with Jammeh, he and his enablers and his executors, what they have done to us. What changes he have brought to our nation. What uncivilized, unhuman activities that have happened in our country and is still affecting us, and is going to affect us to generations if we do not reform and change our ways. I think finally, why did I say to finally use this opportunity? Because Jammeh has played this game for a long time now. His homecoming in many statements and everything. But finally, he have managed to do something. He have elevated his narrative in a sense of giving a sort of a deadline. A sort of a deadline. It's not a deadline. He didn't give a date. He will still turn around. He can still turn around and give excuses. Yes, it's this November and we have days to go. Due to this issue about the date, giving up, a timeline at a short, vague as it is, it have revealed a lot. Many people have taken him more seriously, but I don't think the government have taken him seriously. Yes, but I have talked about it many times of how if he comes, he will be arrested, and started saying stories about anything that had happened. But it seems our opposition have taken it seriously. But instead of standing up to say that Jammeh would be prosecuted, they are talking about, oh yeah, Jammeh have to come this way or that way, or Jammeh have to be negotiated, or this or that, as if we don't know the person we're talking about. Or Jammeh have a right to return, trying to stay safe, to appease the perceived supporters of Jammeh. I don't know how smart that is for politicians. They think that's a smart way to do their politics. They disregard it, never spoke about the victims, never showed that empathy. And for the civil society, especially those representing the victims directly, or who claim or assume the responsibility, to say they are going to Magi life. Those who claim to be the leaders of the victims, they have failed, but they have probably noticed and taken it seriously. For the people that support Jammeh, they are celebrating, taking it seriously. And why do they have that audacity Yes, because of Jammeh have been sanitized by the government and our politicians and civil society for that matter. They have the audacity not to be ashamed, but they think there's something to be proud of. For the naive that comes out to say, at least at Jammeh time, if any Gambian to call themselves progressive, to call themselves patriotic, to think that the time of Jammeh is anything to celebrate, that tells you a lot about that person than what actually transpired in the country. That have transpired in the country. The issue here, people are playing politics with the Jammeh homecoming or proposed homecoming. There's a political angle in this. This is where I am disappointed with Lawyer Dabo. I am disappointed with Halifa Sallah. I am disappointed with Essa Fall for one reason. They all had a take recently about this homecoming. And I am disappointed with the rest of the opposition that did not come out. Don't wait to be asked that question, or to proactively come out and say and do the right thing. To condemn Jammeh and talk about the need for justice. The need for justice. To the extent of trying to conflate the homecoming of Sadauda to the homecoming of Jammeh. Jammeh is no Sadauda. And we'll get to that. Trying to say, oh, but when Sadauda was coming, it was negotiated, all this. Sadauda was illegally removed. Whether we like it or not, it's an illegal way of taking out a government. He was illegally removed. We are not claiming that democracy was 100% democracy, as we have no 100% democracy. Yes, we will hold Sadauda and his government for their failures that would even make a bunch of criminals to assume the position of our executive. It's a failure. But that will never excuse that the taking over was illegal. And Sadauda could not have been tried for any case of human rights abuses. Not any. It wasn't systematic. There were human rights abuses, but they were not systematic. They were not brutal as what we have witnessed. One of the worst form of dictatorship. And if we measured the forms of dictatorship that we went through, contrast it to the people we are, a society of Gambia that almost everybody know each other or related. For that to happen within, it was not in South Africa, where white supremacists will come and do it to them. It was not Rwanda, where it should not have happened, but it could have likely possible because of their history, or other countries it had happened. This is Gambia we're talking about. At the time of independence, we are less than 500,000 people. This is the Gambia we're talking about. For that to happen, and we see the opposition now, Honorable Usainu Dabo, Honorable Halifa Sallah, Essa Fall, who was the lead counsel, who made a name for leading the commission that was looking into this atrocities. To remember his closing remarks at the Terrace and his present position as, yes, I was a lawyer, now this or that, or knocking about the bush. For Honorable Lawyer Dabo, who's a victim from day one, before he even subscribed to a political organization, but because of the potential he has and his history of opposing human rights abuses from the Saudi government, he was picked up. For the intelligence that Yahya Jammeh had to know that someone like him was likely to be selected as a candidate. That's why he selected MC Cham. If you know the relationship with MC Cham and Ousseynou Dabo, that's why he selected Ousseynou Ndiaye. If you know Ousseynou Ndiaye and the PPP and relation with MC, you will understand why then Dabo was selected and picked up and brutalized with OJ Jallow and others before he even aspired for to run for office. For Lawyer Dabo to keep caveats talking about the return of Sadada and others as equivalents, not to talk about the victims, the justice for the victims. He can forgive. That's his right to forgive. But as a leader, it's his duty to lead and demand what is right for the people. For Honorable Halifa Sallah, yes, he might not be approved of the TRRC. I am not saying that I heard him say that, but I saw him do that. For not going to the TRRC to testify. Not, as I again say, as an individual, as his opinion, but as a leader of a party that suffered, that fought, that stood and fight for the liberation. His thoughts are not to be kept private. His thoughts are not to come any other way but for something constituted as part of the reform agendas, to capture that in records. He did not. And no representative from his party did come on behalf of the party, regardless of what have transpired, regardless of their contributions and what they went through and their victimization. It's not a right for them to say silence. It was a duty for them to attend. It was a duty for them to attend and fight to be attend, and even if they were not called. And I cannot see it possible that the TRRC would dare not ignore the contribution or the testimony of Honorable Halifa Sallah. Then this so-called homecoming have brought out a lot. Without surprise, we have seen the likes of Esa Bukarsi. And surprise, I still see people clapping for him, who have finally saw who he is for people that did not know him. Yaromama and many other names he coined for himself to stand to fight against the Gambian people, to support Yahya Jammeh for the position given to him by Yahya Jammeh, to do all form of propaganda, to attack the victims of April 10/11 and every other thing behind the scenes in order to suppress Gambian people, for Yahya Jammeh to kill and do everything. He becomes his PR, he becomes his ambassador, he becomes everything for him. When the coin were not even turned, when the coin were just toasted in the air, he flipped because he was recalled. He dare not return because he knew the brutality probably that would go to him. He came out as he have just found his consent. No, the struggle was convenient for him to be. The struggle was convenient for him to be in, because many survive on the struggle. And people thought he had rebranded himself. Rebranding has to be based on facts. If you forcefully rebrand yourself, it's a matter of time your product will be exposed. And this is what happened. He went on to jump on, as he knows, to the incumbent, to Barrow. Contract finished, tried everything, could not renew a contract. Now it's the same ball game again, coming back to create a new struggle, to talk about aspiring to be a president. All vehicles we all familiar with, to take to bring attention to themselves. Now Jammeh came and exposed it just as he is. Now he's out there propagating and positioning himself, believing that Jammeh was going to come, and if Jammeh comes, that he can return to the honey and glory of being in the APRC. Now, that's the politics of it. What's the legal of it? I have had opinions, I have had arguments. I am not going to talk about the morality of it. And I heard about excuses being given, comparison, which are completely false and wrong. Let's take this thing about South Africa. South Africa went to a TRRC and this and that, and nobody was prosecuted. Now, what is the outcome? What's the outcome? Is South Africa for South Africans? Is South Africa for majority black South Africans that have suffered, that have been victims? Tell me what has changed in South Africa. If you did not address these historic crimes on people, you don't expect justice. That's justice. If justice did not prevail, you don't expect people to behave differently. Now we have seen the evidence in South Africa. Black South Africans are behaving as savages. Their mindset is so backward that they would go around to attack black Africans and believing them to be the cause of their trouble. The success of migrants in South Africa seen as the problem of their struggle, because the reform that would have changed, the politicians have controlled the narrative, and the apartheid government is still on. The only changes is they got black executives in place for the economic formula and everything to run, and they benefit that way. But in Soweto, in townships, and everywhere else, the poor educational system is still what is happening there. No access, no job creation, no wealth creation, no nothing. The wealth creation is for the elites of South Africa, the black ANC leaders, not for average South African. And what had happened in South Africa, for any government that have come in, could not have prosecuted them. Do you know why? It was an apartheid regime. At the time those crimes were committed, they were legal. They were legal. That's why if you only want to stand here to point to legalities, you are limiting yourself for justice. Those crimes were legal. But if those crimes could not be punished, the other side of the coin should be social justice. To the point of black South Africans, which are the majority and who suffered, an owner of that land, to have that sense of belonging again, sense of prosperity, and any one of them, they were able to meet their potential. They have the wealth to do that. That this justice would have been redressed on that side. I am not saying that reparation, is equal to justice, but it's part of the justice. If there was, because of the crime committed, could not be tried in a court of law, let South Africans see themselves liberated, finally. That's the failure of the ANC, because they take care of themselves. Ramaphosa today, he's a multimillionaire. He was a union leader. Within the ANC today is multimillionaire. The Zulu guy is the Zuma. Zuma created Guptas, the Indians that came penniless and made them billionaires in South Africa, just to facilitate the corruption for him and his ANC elites. Become a billionaire. That tells you what would have been possible. There's no reform for land. There's no reform for water. There's no reform for education. There's no reform for anything. Then we cannot look at that system to say that what we aspire for or that we will take to contrast what we should have. Gambia, we should have the audacity to say that we are going to point to the best practice and make sure we achieve that for our people. That's what leadership should be. Not to look at the bottom of the scale, to look for something to contrast for what you have or what you're going to be aspiring for. Rwanda is a complete ball game. Rwanda, it was an ethnic conflict sowed down by the imperialists. It wasn't a single person responsible for the crimes or have a greater responsible for the crime. It was two ethnicities. Just as what happened in Burundi and all other in that area. It's completely different from what happened in the Gambia. That should have been the difference. What they have done today is just flip the coin, and the Tutsis are on top doing the same thing. This is why we have that war raging on in Congo for the resources of Congo, but not only for the resources of Congo, for the payback on the Hutus that are seeking shelter in the Congos or part of the Congos. They have not resolved their problem. Their problems were deeper than us. For Sierra Leone, it was a civil war. But guess what? They managed to have a special court. And some even former ministers of the establishment, the government, have been tried. A special court, a special tribunal was put in and people were tried. Fode Sonko and others were tried. It wasn't enough. But at least that temporal peace they're still enjoying, the part of it is because of the justice that was delivered. For Gambia, we are not talking about the judicious process of attaining justice. We are not talking about the moral compass of seeking for justice. But it's all turned to politicization, posturing for those who vote for Jammeh. If Jammeh is not on the ballot, those people can vote for anybody. But we'll come for that. For the Gambia, I am not going to waste our time because we all know, or it's very open that Barrow have no political will to prosecute Jammeh or to hold Jammeh to account. Because whatever surrounds Barrow are people that supported politically or in fact by being the technical architects and the technocrats for the APRC. You don't expect him to have a political will. And for those, again, that people didn't recognize, the Njai Sedi and others, you have to understand that Abraham Jigo, I call it, or Amodi Jigos, and all those Jigos, and others, nephews and cousins, are supporting Barrow and are very close to Barrow. They don't want their auntie to be prosecuted. The Njogubas and others. You have to know the relationship between Sana Sabali's twin brother or brother and Barrow to know that he doesn't want Sana to be prosecuted. And the list goes on people we don't even know how related they are to him. But if you come to the chief architect, who has been head of intelligence analysts on or different departments under Jammeh, this head of the SIS, you expect that person to prosecute anybody? No. And I can tell you, he talks to Jammeh, directly or indirectly, I can tell you. I cannot establish directly or indirectly. I know the coming home of Umpamendi and General Tamba, he knew about it and he gave them the green light to come. Nothing's going to happen. The coming home of Solbaji, he knew about it. The coming back of the others who were left with Jammeh in Equatorial Guinea, he knew about it. And I can tell you, he have disrupted many operations that would have curtailed some influences of Jammeh. I'm not going into details, but something I know of as a fact, matter of fact, not think. Because he's compromised. That doesn't mean that he wants Jammeh to return and become a president. No. I know that. I know there's no single person amongst those around Barrow that wants Jammeh to return to become a president or have any power. They are not protecting Jammeh because of they like Jammeh. No, because they are complicit, and trial of Jammeh can open cans of worms. The trial of Jammeh can open cans of worms for them. Then they wonder. And imagine, trial of Jammeh, how would they look? You see, even if they haven't committed a crime or supported any form of, or be part of any crime, they don't want to be ashamed because they were part and parcel of it. They failed their responsibility. They don't want that trial to happen. But because of they are complicit, their judgment would not be right. Because they are complicit, they will do anything possible to massage the egos of Barrow or mislead Barrow. No, don't do it. Don't take this point. If you take your political platform with this, your political everything would come to a political decision, but not a national security decision. And their advice should be based on national security. They are bringing their people. It's almost their people on every strategic position. You think Momar Cham wants Jammeh to be prosecuted? No. You have very brilliant senior officers within the Gambia Armed Forces that have integrity, that have the training, that have the knowledge. Far better. Because Momar Cham and some of those people didn't have any of that. But today they are all, puzzled in to be one and the same, which is not fair to the Gambia Armed Forces. The failure of reforms was deliberate. Failure of reforms in the security sector was deliberate. In the civil service was deliberate because they want to maintain it that way. We spoke about this many times because we know, hence these things we are not taken care of, it will keep on to pose as a threat to our existence. Now, going forward to my analysis, don't expect any responsibility. I will look at to see that Barrow will take care of that. But the responsibility, we as Gambians, the opposition, the civil society, our responsibility, that's what I am more worried about. Barrow have shown us who he is for now, since. The failure of prosecuting the junglers and everything, the hideous crimes that we hear, how can you justify any other single Gambian to be in Mile 2? Especially the youths arrested for smoking weed or petty crime or and so on. How can you justify that when the confess killers and the worst of it? How can we compare and make comparisons with what happened in other countries? As I said, the Gambia we have. You imagine this. And you know, when Gambians used to say, oh, Gambian do the flee. No, you monkey Gambian only. You know monkey Gambian. Oh, Jammeh is importing people to do this. Why do you think they were wrong? You think they were naive? that those are Gambians, because a Gambian would have never thought the word Sadauda said before, Masibo. Sadauda was called up. I don't know why Sadauda did not put that in his book, because that's one of the most powerful I ever heard of him. Sadauda was called up because of something a Gambian did. A Gambian he have recommended. Sadauda turned around and said, this is a Masibo. And he went on to say, Masibo in our Mandinka language, this is a catastrophe. And I have never dreamt of this. Masibo means I never dreamt of it, but Masibo in Mandinka literally means a catastrophe. Because those Gambians will never. The Gambian National Army I served, if you tell me that I'll go to bed and be scared or think of that a colleague of mine would put strings around my neck and kill me, I'll tell you no. It has never crossed my mind. The Gambian National Army I served have shown that empathy. Many times, young officers or men would threaten mutiny or the form of a coup d'etat. You know what stopped them? They will say, I don't want anyone to die. We don't want anyone to die. We want to do this thing so that nobody will die. Soldiers thinking of coup d'etats. Even at the time of them to overthrow Jammeh. I know a very senior officer. He was coopted in to a coup which could have likely very successful. When they briefed him and every operational plan, they said they don't want anyone to die. He said, if that's your premise, get me out of it and let nobody ever mention me in this. You have already failed as soldiers. You are saying that you're going into operation and you don't want anybody to die, as if you are going to rescue victims. But that's the Gambia we know. In Liberia, the late Aluba had a problem. Asafla, I can't remember it's Aluba, but I know the other person involved was Chare. His surname is Chare. I can't remember more Chare or his first name. He had an issue with one of the soldiers. This is when during Siarin dinner or something like that. Because some of the rescue rebels, we call them young soldiers. They were more familiar to us, and again the empathy Gambians have. They go around Sierra Leoneans or Guineans or Nigerians or Ghanaians, they ask them to leave. They move them because they are not ready to share their food with them. They come to the Gambian canteen or the cookhouse, and they'll come and stay with Gambians in the places we stay. They come and share the floor and everything. They run errands. They were as family, and some Gambians even adopted some of them. The appreciation from this, I still have pictures, and I looked at the pictures the last time, and one of them wrote Ismail Love, one of the soldiers' name. That's how much these broken kids had empathy from us. And when this thing happened, it was so tense. We had to separate these two soldiers, Chare and the other person. Went to bed. One of these small soldiers wake this other soldier. I don't, sort of is Aluba. I don't know why it's Aluba. Wake him up and said, oh, take your gun and go and kill him. Who? He said the person he was fighting, Chare. Just shows you the trauma that kid go to and how they think. That will never happen. But come to where we hear soldiers, and why am I emphasizing soldiers? Because these are not ordinary Gambians walking down the street. Just as what happened in South Africa, because they're so traumatized, they went so much of stuff, they can just kill you for nothing, they will rape you for nothing, they will do everything. But these are people taken into an institution, recruited at time of Jammeh. Jammeh selected them because of whatever characters they have and turned them to cold killers, to send them to strangle people they know, people they form a relationship with, or even you don't not necessary, to kill them, strangle people in their hospital beds, kill them. Do you know what else? Because none of the victims came out and admit. Do you know how many male victims have been raped? Instruction of Jammeh and been recorded. Do you know how many victims that they didn't bother to approach even the TRRC to give testimony? They didn't even bother. Do you know how many victims have even approached the TRRC and give a secret testimony, but statement, but did not want to come on open testimony because of the damage done to them by how Jammeh treated them? How Jammeh treated them. Imams, we know. The Brikama Imams, Babalis, and every other person that would say truth to power, what they did to them. How can we just forget about that? How can we just try to address this situation and say, you know, Jawara was negotiated? Trying to say that Jawara was negotiated, bro, my online. Trying to say that Jawara was negotiated. Give you the example. One example is enough. Aruna Jammeh, cousin to Yahya Jammeh. Aruna, I grew up. He was my eldest brother, mate. I've sat around Aruna, them doing attire, drinking attire, a different level of me growing up. I seen Aruna. I have never had Aruna altered any statement that sounds angry or insulting or anything. He was like a calm and calculated, tall, disciplined young man. Aruna. I never knew Aruna was even born in Canela. I saw Aruna in Bakau growing up. Our families are very, very related. And we live together as neighbors. Pamodu Jammeh, Pabakari Jammeh, when they first came to Bakau, it was based on my dad's influence from Foni. My dad got them from Foni as young men. They came and worked at the PWD in Bakau. They first lived in our compound, then they got their compound, 2 compounds after. And we live as neighbors up till today. We all grow up together. All the children in those compounds and our compound in Senegambia grow up together. We can be side witness for Yahya Jammeh. I mean, we just call him Ron. Thank you, Mariama, you know. We just call him Ron. When I first had Aruna, I didn't know who they're talking about. Later I knew it was Ron they're talking about. Yahya Jammeh stayed with him in Bakau. Yahya Jammeh shared beds, not bed, probably house with him in Bakau. Same Jammeh. But you know what? Yahya Jammeh used to go out to look for Aruna Jammeh at his workplace in Novotel. This is where Yahya Jammeh knew Amadba. Because Amadba and Ron, they were friends and they were working at the Novotel. Yahya Jammeh used to go there all the time. At the gates or looking for Ron. For what? Something he can get from Ron. Because Ron was working at the restaurant. He later became one of the head restaurateurs in there. For food, for drink, for money and all that stuff. Yahya Jammeh became a head of state. He built his mansion in Canela. He encouraged Aruna to go and be responsible for his estate, running of his estate. What can that person do to you? If you can kill your cousin for disagreement, and any disagreement must be an advice that Yahya didn't want, or sleeping night, and one of his devils will come to him and tell him that Haruna doesn't like you, and he will believe in the devil because he's a devil worshipper, and he will believe anything that dark that come into his dreams. And we all heard what the people he sent said about that. Now, if anyone want to excuse, but these people might say that Jammeh sent them to do this, but he might not. That's an cock-up excuse. And it says a lot about the person who says that. Either you are less intelligent, or you just evil as Jammeh to give those excuses. That's why I'm giving this simple one to prove this. For Aruna to lose his life because he was murdered by people employed by Jammeh to do these things. John called them junglers. To strangle them. Strangle. To kill. And Jammeh chooses, I'm not sure whether Esafal did ask that question from the junglers. He chooses the mode of operation, how he want these people killed. How he want these people killed. He chooses the methodology. Aruna was to be killed in that way. Make him suffer. One. Aruna's sister, Marcia. Someone missed their brother and come and ask inquiry. You think as Jammeh was not responsible for your estate manager, your cousin, to be not seen, but known where the person is, who would have gone for looking for who would have gone looking for Aruna? Jammeh would have sent the side party. But no, even the sister, Marcia, come around to look for his brother. Obviously Marcia know that he was responsible. Marcia have to die. Marcia have to die just as Aruna. And now you want to say that Yahya cannot be responsible for all the others that he's accused of. When he have responsibility here directly, not even head of state. Just ask the estate agent, if today someone who works for you is missing, you'll be in frantic trying to find that person. Especially someone close to you as a cousin and your estate manager. Even Jammeh should have been concerned then, my security, if my estate manager can just be snatched and taken away. No, the sister will have to die. But that's not enough. According to Oya, because they're all frequent, when Oya said that they frequent the house of Aruna, I knew he was talking about Ron. That they frequent the house of Aruna to eat there. I know that's the Aruna. That's a character of Aruna. He will take all these young people. And I bet Aruna was telling them not to do anything bad. And I bet Aruna went to Jammeh to tell him don't do something bad. I had a narrative. Someone said that that's what happened. He went to Jammeh telling him, no, don't be disrespectful. Don't do this, don't do that. And he had enough of that. But you cannot just sack him and let him go back to Bakau and continue his life. But you have to kill him. You have to kill Aruna's sister, your other cousin. But that's not enough. According to Oya, that went to tell Aruna's wife, who was suffering ill, try and just approach Jammeh. Let him just see you. Try and meet him. He will help you. No. And for Haruna's wife, who might be related to them or not, whatever the case, to go to meet Yahya in his garden, coming up with crutches, with crutches and approaching Jammeh, and Jammeh asking the lady to drop the crutches. Why would you? Why would you ask anyone to do that? Especially knowing who the person is. You have killed the husband, killed everything, the livelihood of the family. You I don't have to left children to be cared for. And according to Yahya Jammeh laugh. And when Yahya said Jammeh laugh, I can bet see the Jammeh's face then. That tell you that guy is a monster. A monster. Who would doubt any? Who would doubt any? Who would doubt what Tufa went through? Do you know what the Ghanaian wife, Yahya's Ghanaian wife testimony is? Do you know what the Ghanaian wife testimony is? Do you know people that were guarding Yahya, who were standing by almost the bedroom of Yahya? Do you know their testimony? All this did not come onto the TRRC. Any evil that is addressed to Yahya is his doing. Now, why would we will not have outrage? Why our opposition leaders are not having outrage? Why are they not forcing this government to do the right thing? To put a red alert on the Yahya, to charge him an absentia. We have enough evidence to charge him. If we can charge Ablai Sanya for being overindulgent on an interview, if we can charge other people for false statements and stuff like that, why are we not brave enough to come out? We don't. And no political leader have an excuse. You don't even need to be interviewed. You should come out and tell your party position on Yahya Jammeh. Party position on Yahya Jammeh. And do you know what another irony here? That we miss out? Gambia, we heard about the Jammeh Commission. I'll try and talk a bit about it today. We heard about the Jammeh Commission. The amount of money so far, I'm not talking about the corruption and everything, the amount of money so far, after the corruption of paying millions to Alpha Barry and others, for other looting the properties that we see from Yahya Jammeh, they have had billions, a billion or so, billion plus, received, and still the victims have not received anything from the Gambia government. And I said anything, they haven't received anything from the Gambia government, and I stand by that, and I'll explain. For those billions, what are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? But Barrow can take the millions of hours to be giving it out to forming political parties to do anything. There's a candidate, there's a person who aspires to be a presidential candidate. I hope that person have the courage to stand and say it. I know that person was approached and promised to be paid $30 million for the person to shut up, not to give interviews, not to say anything, not to attack Barrow. And a managing director was entrusted to do that payment. We are not going to say everything we know, but we pray to Allah that a change of government with a serious government in place will still be here to give our testimony. Yes, there's a new political party leader that was offered $30 million to shut up. But the victims still cannot. They did not have the treatment. The Yusuf Ambai still the treatment to ease the pain, because it's not likely they will ever recover to economically be able to take care of themselves. They might never have family. They might never have anything. How much you think those people should be compensated of if they are not even physically taken care of, mentally taken care of? Do you know that the trauma still in those young people, the April 10, 11 children, the trauma still go no compensation on others victims. And the 50 million reparation, again I say it here, I keep on saying, and this is why I'm cross with this victim association. I keep on forgetting about the victim association, Kijera and others. I'm not picking up Kijera, but Kijera, he was the leader, and the others around him. They completely failed the victims because of they were quarreling with Batambedu. Batambedu leading them on, whilst Batambedu is with his girlfriend then Binta Sise, robbing the deposits that we are recovering from them, robbing it, the land, the money. And now we have Ibrahim, so-called Dr. Ibrahim Sise coming out and saying, "Oh, but Batambedu is vindicated." You see, this is why some people it's not vindicated with everything that transpired. And these people call themselves doctorate holders. To be so dishonest, because I know he's dishonest, because he knows that's not true. What he said, Ibrahim Sise knows what he says not true. It makes me really angry. The 50 million, I explained. How did I know? It's simple, plain sight. I'm repeating this, many people have heard this. I had Batambedu been questioned by an MP in Parliament to explain the $50 million is given by Senegal for the given towards help the victim, to help the victims. Batambedu started to model up, and it wasn't clear. Oh yeah, that 50 million was put in an account, but we took 50 million from the proceeds of the Jammeh recovery, and we give that 50 million to how to call it, to the victims. That's the only 50 million given. Now, where is the 50 million from the Senegalese? Still no explanation. When I had that modeling of explanation, 50-50, I know deliberately the reason they give 50 million to the victims is to cover for the 50 million already given by Senegal. I went and found out this investigation. I first established, how did the 50 million come out from Senegal? Is it true that Senegal given 50 million? Even though Batambedu acknowledged receiving 50 million. It was explained to me that the proceeds of the mahogany or the wood from Casamas that was impounded at the ports was later sold, and the price tag was 100 million, and that was even a looting. And the 100 million, Senegal was given 50 million shares. Senegal declined to accept it and said that they would give it to the victims. That 50 million did not get to the victims. Or the 50 million they gave, that's what get to the victims. But the government have not given a penny. When we had that, there are millions. And even transaction that Alpha Bari have done negligible anything, he have been compensated from those transactions almost 10 million. And that Alpha Bari was established by Batambedu, but because of Batambedu, Binta Sise and Alpha Bari are close, and Batambedu, Binta Sise, you know, he's a Munku. Batambedu is a big Munku. You know, Binta Sise saw the right pickings, and he clamped up to Batambedu. Then Batambedu and brought Alpha in it, and they squandered our wealth. But you don't hear the opposition standing up asking for the reparation now. It's enough time. What does it, how long does it take for all of them to die? to allow them to continue to suffer, and still they are not going to be, compensated? But not that only. The another area that this opposition have just been quiet, and civil society for about the matter, the victim center, yes, especially the victim center. The victim center, they're quiet. The only recovery outside the jurisdiction of the Gambia, as far as we know, is the 10 million, I believe, US dollars or so, or whatever, for the Potomac property. And that's not effort of Gambia government at all. It's during the course of the Jammeh Commission investigations, certain American groups knew about this Potomac, and they went through their Treasury Department and forced this recovery of property. And now they have recovered the property. They sold the property. Now those proceeds, if it goes through this government, you know that they will not be compensated well. But apart from that, what else? I keep on saying this many times, and I'm waiting for Barrow to sue me or a new government to investigate this. An account in Hong Kong that was run from Dakar by Amadou Samba and others for Jammeh, millions of dollars. I cannot remember exact figures. Let's say millions of dollars in Hong Kong. During the impasse, Amadou Samba, Samsar of Senegal, former mayor or whatever, crook, Samsar of Senegal, during the impasse, that short period, Amadou Samba identified that account and used it as a bait to buy out Barrow. Barrow got compensated from that account. And other people I'm not going to name for now. But what I'm saying here is, I know why Barrow will not go after Yahya Jammeh's assets outside the Gambia. Just as Bartamid is aware, and all those, to not to do the right thing when he was justice minister. And this justice minister will not do the right thing as well, because that's Barrow doesn't want it. But a new government, if they are serious, that money will go for it. The proceeds of Jammeh are outside the country. You know why? Because of that compensation from Amadou Samba means he will not able to go for it. Because Amadou Samba was Jammeh business manager. I did not say that. Amadou Samba said so. When he had an interview with Sidi Sane block during the impasse. Because at that time he have measured to say that being Yahya Jammeh's accountant or business manager was less problematic to avoid the other crimes, human rights and other crimes. But he was more than a business manager because of the money laundering and others. Now, around the same time that the government came in, we had of the Panama files, when almost $1 billion, almost $1 billion. Any smart person can look at it. What's part of the Gambian economy? Can someone gain $1 billion put aside? Almost $900 million put aside. How much crimes will have to commit on Gambians to able to put that? And that's only one account. Not other accounts you have all over. Not a property you have in Park, High Park Corner in UK here, costing millions of pounds. Not other properties you have in UK. Not other lifestyle you have. Other properties you have other places. And this government was not interested. This is why they are not interested to go for the Jammeh's accounts. I can tell you properties that Jammeh owe in UK here, in Reading and other places. At that time, you know, by now, more properties will move and change hands. Tell you accounts that he runs from St. one of the Caribbean islands. Tell people, witnesses who are still alive, who were at AG chambers when Nigerian lawyers are brought in just to facilitate that money laundering, because of how much cash he was generating from drug trafficking and other form arms trafficking and everything else. Operating the Gambia flag for all this stuff. Billions. That money recovered would have changed a lot in that country. But it cannot be recovered because of Barrow have already made a deal. And Ahmad Samba is still staying out, coming in and out because of he didn't trust. But why are the politicians not asking for, the billions outside our country? And in any serious country, first thing to deal with Jammeh was to seize any, even where democratically hands change. Right now in Ghana, they have freeze accounts of the former president and his associates all over the country, all world. They're looking into it. They're looking into it. They're going after the finance ministers and other ministers, mining ministers and other ministers. Any other country, that's what they do. But not Gambia. If we want to deal with Jammeh, that's one thing we could have started for. And secondly, we have enough evidence to charge him and put a red warrant on him. But if the people around him are compromised, they will not do it. But why not the opposition doing it? Is it political posturing for the Jammeh votes? This is what we talk about legal. Oh, you know, Jammeh have immunity. What immunity? What immunity? As a president or former president? Which president have immunity for crimes against humanity? Which president? And let's come to the final bit. Even for God's sake, let's give them the immunity they're talking about. Let's give them the immunity. You know what would trust the immunity? National security. If this government have reasons to believe that Ben Suwareh pose a risk to national security, Ben Suwareh land at that airport, Ben Suwareh should be put away for the required period. 42 hours, 72 hours, or whatever it is. And we can argue it as much as we want to defend Ben Suwareh for what we know for the 72 hours to the government to produce Ben Suwareh before a court and charge for that crime. For that crime. And this is not Ben Suwareh talking about. We're talking about someone we know. We have the evidence. We have witnesses. We have exhumed some. We couldn't find others. We found the environment. We found the well. We found other stuff. Some that have gone through the judicial process in the Gambia itself. And you telling me that, to arrest that person would be breaking his, what? Rights? How do you process someone if not arresting them? How do you process a suspect apart from arresting them? And if you come to the national concern, the national security, Jammeh left the source of the Gambia not voluntarily. Let's remember that. He did not just lose the elections and decided to travel. No, he resisted the will of the Gambian people. He resisted our democratic processes. If it was not for the sub-regional forces, we could have gone to a civil war. That's what he wanted. Now you tell me that person did not post a risk to national security just to walk back in as if he's a new messiah? As a new messiah, we are debating about his rights. Rights he did not hold. No citizen hold that right against due process. It's due process if the state have a reason to believe that you are a risk to national security, the state to put you through the process. What's this amnesia or confusion around legality? And all the lawyers we have in the country are standing on the position of legal. Oh, you have to take it for parliament. You have to take it to parliament. We all know how he left the country. What argument is that? If we don't even stand up for the victims, let's stand up for ourselves. Because we'll look at the consequences of what we follow. Let me move on a bit. I didn't want to put that almost there. Let's go through this. What are the likely evidence of his likely return? Where's the evidence there that he's likely to return? We are here now. A month is made of 30 to 31 days, 29 or 28 in a leap year, whatever you calculate that. I know it's not talking about the Islamic month, which is shorter. I don't know whether it's talking about a Russian one or what. But we are here now. We have days to go. What are the indicators? Now, I'm not even going to the intelligence environment. I'm talking about common sense, information we have. We can all access to. Because there's something interesting about this. Because people are bothering me with these indicators. Oh, Ben, but take it seriously, this. I'm not saying I'm not going to take it seriously. Yeah, I can come in. He's welcome to come in. But what will happen, that's what we think of. That he's going to come in on a red carpet and go and sit at the State House, or red carpet and go and sit at Canela, or anywhere else. That is where the debate is. What will happen, the concerns and all the things, that what we need to talk about. The indicators, known to the intelligence or not. Let me put it this way. I know this is not difficult to know much about what Yahya is doing or not doing, engaged or not engaging. Yahya is not operating anything sophisticated, I can tell you that. Yahya rests on human intelligence. Yahya rests on, he's not using any gadgets that protects him from knowing what he does. He is sending audios, he's calling people, and people that know, we know people that leave the Gambia and visit him, even though they never got arrested. We know lawyers acting for him in the Gambia, for Gambian lawyers in the Gambia doing some transactions for him and going back. We know his MSN and everything. I know, and many people know, who are not intelligence, who are not part of the security setup. But we know the intelligence, no. But we know the intelligence are complicit in many ways, not because of they love Yahya or they're protecting Yahya, no, they're protecting themselves. As I said, I know of transaction things that had happened. And this SISDG and his people cover it up, which could have been, which is a national security concern that could have been dealt with. Now, the indicators. People are pointing to, oh, you see, they're tying up flags to the airport. What does that say? Is that an evidence? That's an aspiration. You see, because if you look at downbeat, Yahya knows, might be again, there's something he knows that he wants to play with. We get to that. We see a congregation in Kanilai cutting grasses around the Mansell. But now, if they cut the grasses around the Mansell, are they preparing a tent for Yahya to live in? Because if the indicator is that they climb the grasses because Yahya Jammeh is going to come to Kanilai to live, is Yahya going to live in that apartment, that is apartment you call it, or mansion, in the condition it is, without water, without anything? It's going to come in, that's what it's going to call it, fine. But the indication that these people are Look at the majority of people around there. These are people who are mesmerizing, who have missed all the kupampung, all the rumba, the drumming, the eating of whatever, celebration. Because only someone with a low IQ, someone like empathy, someone who would look at tribal lenses or affiliations would start to sit there. What Yahya did to Fonyi, what Yahya did to the children of Fonyi, the elders of Fonyi, to talk about receiving him in Fonyi. What Jammeh did to Fonyi is worse than he did to any single region compared. He started the witch hunting in Fonyi itself. Disgracing, punishing, everything else. How many children of Fonyi have been killed? How many of his family members have been killed, punished, tortured, put into Maltu? Assistamba and others. Something Boyang accused him of my classmate, bagmate, who was an RSM. I forgot his first name. Accused of stealing cattle, which was a lie. Mile 2, 10 years. What for? What do you have to celebrate about this guy? We see that. Do we take that as indication that anything serious? The airport coming is anything serious? But is it a decoy? Is it Yahya instructing him to do all that? We have seen the one thing he achieved, apart from exposing our opposition of their positions and others who want to who believe in his coming now. They're trying to ally themselves to him, revitalize or rejuvenate their relationship with Yahya and the APRC, the likes of Esa Bukaresi. We have seen the green boys, so-called, probably were the green babies then. Now the green boys, let's get ready, let's prepare ourselves. We've seen that. But those people, that's what their level is. No insult to them. I don't blame them. No progressive person, no mature person, no good person would think that way. But again, ignorance is not an insult, but they're just ignorance of reality. And don't take it for granted that, oh, how come someone would not know this? Because if you know, doesn't mean that others will know. Because you comprehend, doesn't mean that others will comprehend. But can it be decoy? Decoy to what? Because he wants to do something clandestine. He wants to come in clandestine. That's not for Ben Suwareh. I'm not in position to know that. That's for the intelligence to know. Again, if they fail on that, that's what Barrow created to fail. Because Jammeh's coming is not going to be something Barrow would ever, celebrate. And the consequences might be something else that none of us will celebrate. This is the realities, if you look at it. Is he doing that? Preparing the grassroots movement. Rejuvenate this political movement in order. There's one political, so-called one political party that's coming up. That political party has Yahya Jammeh footprint all over it. We are not going to say much. Don't be surprised with all this Yahya not coming, but he uses as an opportunity to rejuvenate the APRC for this party to represent him in the time of elections. This party, I know. Hey bro, I'm on live. I'm on live. I'm on live. Yeah. Yes, sorry guys. He might do this. This is possibility. All this is to rejuvenate these things, and later, as all of Yekalko, just as we see Gano, when he's realized that my brother Gano, the leader of Gano, was not up to it, then he moved on to Mama Kande. Don't be surprised this will happen. There's a political party that have the fingerprints of all Yahya Jammeh, because the same particular lawyer that does him to him is kind of connected to these people. We know. Now, that might be the reason. But again, in time of desperation, you would throw the cards in the air to see what comes on. Yahya Jammeh is not a risk taker, but he is a very calculating person. And time of desperation, he might do something that you think he might not. He knows how to push it though, to the edges, but he knows when to walk back. Probably he's pushing things to the edges because of what we call the no war order. There's a no war order right now. The UN is in God knows. The AU is in God knows. ECOWAS is in God knows. There are other interest groups. Now, the American foreign policy is now not even to, they're just going out promising to war, protect Christians in order to get resources, war to fight drug trafficking in order to access resources, war to this, or promising to settle peace in order to get resources. That's why they have a gangster in place. The foreign policy is not there anymore. We hear the American president, oh, he promised peace in Congo, but he has to have access to rare minerals. Now, he promised war in Nigeria to protect Christians, but he has to have access to rare minerals and in fact interrupt the development project of Nigeria being sufficient in refined oil and all the things, or try to force them to get American. These are the things that's going on. Yeah, I understand this geopolitics. There are troubles in our regions that ECOWAS cannot even deal with. The Green Boys are around, the military governments and every other things are around. There's technically crisis in Senegal, government crisis in Senegal. Would he say that this is a right time to push to the edges and see what will come on, and if it is feasible, let's rumble? He might. This is something as the security services should think about. Probably they did. I'm not saying they did not. Probably they did. Now, to say that the flags here on this, they are not indicators of that he was coming. That he's coming just to expect to walk on a red carpet. No. There are other obstacles for that to happen. For him to come in private plane, commercial plane, any way you think about it, you just don't fly in the air and land in a country. There are a lot of things that happen, and especially if you are someone like Yahya Jammeh and there are other risks associated to that. I don't think that's what's likely to happen. But if it's happened to, then there are people responsible for that. That's where I want to go. What evidence my support that the government is not taking him as a threat of coming to the Gambia is two. One, coming to the Gambia expecting a red carpet. If Barrow was convinced, this is again an analysis. I'm not talking on Barrow's behalf. I am thinking as a government, Barrow is really concerned and thinking that his coming, Jammeh's coming, is not a good. It's not, because I cannot believe that Barrow would believe that Jammeh will come in and just sit down and stay stable and follow a political process, and think that two Gambians would sit down, stable, accept Jammeh to stay and how to call it, and engineer whatever he wants to engineer and be the process. I don't think Barrow would believe in that. I don't think the SI or anybody can make him believe in that. I don't believe that. If he believes that, he's in trouble, because he's going to learn something completely different. But if Barrow believes that Jammeh will be coming, and he's not in welcoming of Jammeh coming, what stopped him from just charging Jammeh from a distance? Because once you charge him, it's a preventative measure. Because in every airline or every things would have this red alert, and every government would be part of the Interpol or other communities that we are part of, the security listing we have, would have a responsibility to stop him and apply the process that is required to fulfill the red alert. What stopped him from doing that? Probably he just thought it's just a bluff, and the bluff is good for me. Don't discount that. Because this he's a political animal, he said. He might think that, oh, then Gambian will be distracted talking about Jammeh, and this is good for me. But he's not even thinking about the consequences of the tourism, investor confidence, and all the things that happen. Probably he thinks political is good for him, but I don't think he would think that way, but he might think that way. If he does, he would do that. If Barrack thought, or the government, let's say, thought that Jammeh is serious and they do their assessment, because I bet you SIS have to deliver a report on this, how to contain this, what is happening, how to contain it, and they have to do their investigation and come and give their assessments and do a recommendation. That's how it works. And if SIS did that, or whoever it is rely on, or his national security advisor have asked the responsible agencies to do this, and he looks at it and finalize and give a report to say, is he coming through the borders? Is he trying to do this? Is he trying to do that? I'm not going to mention some of these things that can happen. Yeah, Jammeh can do those. I'm not saying them, but I know Jammeh can do certain things for whatever. But those things that they look into, they'll make recommendations and put a mitigating mechanism to make sure they don't happen. This is their responsibility. If they don't do it, we Gambians, we allow them to stay there that long for us to think about it. Now, is that going to happen? The indicators are, one, what we can see. I don't believe that if the borough or the government took it seriously to the point of thinking that it might be a national security stuff, that borough would have gone on the farmer store. Or if borough have gone to the farmer store, there was going to be a visible evidence, very glaring, to show that, oh, that something changed with the security of borough. Because they would have advised, sir, this is maybe constitutional, but it's not safe to do it right now. We have to wait till after November, and we evaluate this threat we saw here, or here, or here, or here. They would have done that. Or the other thing is, if you're going onto this store, we have to do these things differently this year. We're going to do this, to reduce your exposure. So in fact, again, the physical evidence we'll see is a setup that people who have training in VIP escorts or extractions and other things would know. We have this setup that if it happen, then this is what's going to happen, or to make it not happen. Because there are certain things you do that the enemy will look at it and say, fuck, no, I am not going to attack here. I'm not going to listen, because if I do, it's not going to be successful and I'll be liquidated. Unless where you have in the Middle East or other places where the dead of they don't mind to die. Those people, that's why it's difficult to give security to people that want to give their life. This evidence I did not see. I've looked at the toll station, the toll in, how to call it, mobile, the toll itinerary, because all these things, if you are security aware, the station, when they are stationed, so you have seen certain things to tell you how. Two, there's certain things you see. Two, when it is moving, you have seen certain things, and the places they're going to do them, you have realized certain things. They will have avoided certain things. But I have not seen this evidence. Probably they looked at the intelligence and everything. They said no, nothing. It's not likely for him to do anything silly or try anything silly. And why did I say this? If you remember 2015, 2016, Yahya Jammeh changed a lot in his convoy. Some things are visible, you can see, visibly see, others you can notice. You know, convoy, when you see similar vehicles, there are reasons for similar vehicles. There are reasons for similar vehicles. There are times that vehicles change positions so that someone expecting it somewhere else might count to say that someone might radio to say the Ford vehicle. The Ford vehicle, white Range Rover, bam, 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 bam. You have 3 Range Rovers. Then you can move where the principal is and put them another position before they get to another location, and keep on changing it. It's difficult, and they might say, fuck it, we're not going to watch anymore because we don't know which one he's going to be in. In the convoy, you can see the amount of time Barrow is staying up there. And knowing Barrow is so lazy, at one time he was sitting, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And if you look at the security, their positions, there's nowhere they could have been a seal. You know, there's a seal they carry, that certain things you just go with the seal, and there's certain things you need to do, but they were not in position to do that. And I know they know what to do if they see, but if they don't perceive the threat, they will not do anything. Remember, Yahya started to change vehicles in certain ways, but again, if Yahya comes out of the vehicle now after, you see those they have bulky men sitting all around him, to the extent that at times you don't even see Yahya properly, because Yahya was anticipating some kind of because I know there was an intelligence on that. This is why there was a day that Yahya went to eat prayers at Banjul, and he has asked all windows to be closed, locked, because he was expecting a grenade to be locked in. You know, and he had been started to be scared. Like his toe was cut short or changed, and certain things been changed. And after, even when he sits at the podium in these political rallies, the ministers are put away. You see most of them are bulky bodyguards around him. And there are other things around the tent, or where the podium. If you look at side of the podium, you will know there's some security set up there, and that's for the extraction. That's called the extraction, where they come in and make sure he's taken out of the place. They were all set up, you know, but I have not seen any of this in Barrow's entrance, or probably they feel it's not needed. Probably it's not needed. Then they're not scared of Jammeh doing anything stupid or anything else. But again, there are other things that they can do which I am not going into. Probably they will need to do that. Then this external or internal or external preventative surveillance and assessments, and all actions are in place. Now, what we need to ask what if in security, when you assess, you look at the livelihood. Assessment is about looking at the livelihood. Then from the livelihood, you have an understanding, and then you put in a preventative method or mechanism, and that would involve communication, that will involve strength, manpower, that will involve the type of manpower you need, more plain clothes or more combatant, more equipments, logistics, different things. That's happened. You do the assessment and do that. But in the case of it all fail and it happen, what will happen? Those are the consequences we Gambians should be worried about. This is where we need a political leadership. This is why we should not even sit by now to think about this. This is why I'm worried the issue about victimhood, the issue about holding Jammeh, standing to force this government to hold Jammeh's comment seriously, that let this be the last. We're talking about this guy until he's in prison. This is this, that. But he can push the goalposts, and when he's come again, people will talk about it. And we blame the government for that, but we hold the opposition as well. responsible for this. Because if they have force, something will happen. Go for his money, go for his counterparts, I mean, lock up the people. But even the people serving in the Human Rights Commission came out to say still the recommendation for people serving in the services are still not effective. These are all things you don't hear our opposition advocating. Now, the consequences might be destabilizing in any way or form that the Jammeh comes to Gambia. There are potentials. Let me emphasize potential of destabilization, the victims and all stuff and other stuff. But why are we confident that again that can be addressed? Is the only mechanism that we see as evidence that something could be done is the presence of economic. But presence of economic too depends. I'm not underestimating, I'm just pointing out that economic, because I know their mandate, I believe they understand their mandate, and they have applied, they are applying the operational procedures that that covers their mandate. Their mandate is to prevent. Security force, prevent. The other mandate, prevent, the other mandate is contingency planning. If the prevention fail, what they can do. And one thing they will do is to contain it to the extent it will not harm the civilian population. That's why I can tell you today, if a sizable Gambian come out, the police, PIU and police will come out. I can tell you, if they get to the doors of State House and really that they are going to go in, ECOMIC will shoot a single person. That's not their mandate. But they will make sure Barrow is safe out of the jurisdiction where he can be harmed. This is their mandate. They are not there to quell civil unrest. God forbid, if the Gambia armed forces rise up, they have a challenge, but that's their mandate. Because still, the reason they are in the Gambia, because it is perceived and believed by the authorities, which is their own doing, that the Gambia armed forces in a greater part are loyal to the dictator. Now, if you know this, or if you believe it, or if your principal believes this, they will have a mandate, and that mandate, the operational procedures will make sure they contain that. And I am not going to point it out, but I am aware there are mechanisms in place right now to contain the Gambia armed force, but they are only mechanisms. They are not proof, like a leak proof or cannot. We, God forbid, that happens. Now, the coming of Jammeh, the mandate of ECOMIC would be do their operational position is the anticipation. They have a contingency plan to deter his coming. But if he happen to come, what they should do, and that will be detailed. There's something we call the detailed operational plan. In the detailed operational plan, there are individual detailed tasks. Individual detailed tasks does not only represent like what I should do. No, it's individual units or operational tasks. That airport, what the airport operations would be. Seaport, what the seaport operations would be. Headquarters, what the operational procedure should be, because they are all different. When shit hit the fan, synchronization, they all have their roles to play. Wherever they are located or these things, they will know what to do. That can contain, probably if they fail the prevention, something, their operational plans should be sufficient to contain the risk of getting out from the airport or the border or wherever it is. But again, in tandem, they don't have a choice. Internal security, the police would be coordinating to do the other stuff that they need to do. The sad part is the Gambian National Army have no in this sense, because they are not trusted. But that's his nightmare would be any scenario that the Gambia Armed Forces would be out. I am not saying that I don't trust the Gambia. No, that's not me. I've not done that assessment. I'm saying the assessment of Barrow's government, because that's why ECOMIC is here, not Ben Suwareh. I did not do that assessment, but I know they are scared of that. Things to roll out, and the army, Gambia army, have to be part of the operational this thing, because if that happens, there are associated risks that ECOMIC cannot contain. You know, if you say certain cannot contain, you have to understand operational procedures. And the first thing about troops preservation. Some of these things have come up, in fact, in studies in what happened in Rwanda with the UN and other stuff, you know, and so on, or other fronts where peacekeepings are. In fact, what happened to though at the these things have been studied and understand why certain things were the way they were. Because you have a responsibility to preserve your operational standards, or integrity and the functionality of your operations. Now, this is a scenario we don't hope to happen, but if it happens again, the police and others will try to do their other civil duties, and others and the ECOMIC will do to try to avoid it spilling for the need for Gambia Army to participate in a greater sense. Because if it gets there, now Barrow's position will be untenable. Barrow's position will be untenable, because he will be held bloody responsible for all this to happen, for this all to happen. Now, these are things that are out of our hands as people. But what is in our hands as people now is to stop this rot of trying to continue to sanitize Jammeh, or treating Jammeh as an ordinary Gambian that might have committed a crime somewhere, that have left the country, that have to come back. I say, hell no. Guys, I think we have done much about that. I can't take questions, unfortunately. I wish it was when people can take questions. We'll look at that another time. I want to come to another point now, which is about Senegal. Senegal relating to Gambians' concern. I am not talking about, I want to say this clear, the matter is not about, oh, Jammeh, Sonko, no. I am not here for the opinions of different people that have different vested interests into what happened. I am not here for the politics of it. I am here to discuss this, pertaining to how important and concerning it should be for Gambians. I was very busy, but that's not the only reason. This is so important, but I have abstained, stay away from, because I would, if I have reacted, I would not have been I wouldn't have been very effective in reacting to what is happening, because I was not going to the novice about the politics of it, but I was going to address something more on these things, and I don't want to give attention to certain people. The reality we're talking about here, why does it matter? Many Gambians have taken interest in this, and majority of Gambians, as I view over social media, are concerned because they support Sonko, and extension they support Passive. This is very. I'm doing this deliberately. I'm doing this separation deliberately. Sonko, the leader; Passive, the leadership and the movement. The reason they're doing that is because they believe in Sonko. They believe in what Sonko advocates. They believe in what Passive advocates, and they believe in the governance of Passive in the programs and aspiration they have been Pan-Africanism, others for Senegal, which in turn is an interest to them. because this is what they aspire for them, their own country. Not that they are empathetic to Senegalese people. I'm not saying they are not, but not only that. They are looking into that, these aspirations and hopes and everything, or realities of, development and progress, discourse or whatever is going in Senegal. They wish to have that. And most of them have understand that if it's strife in Senegal, it's going to flow over to the Gambia. This is why they have that position. Some people support Sonko for whatever his charisma, and some, the opposite sex, or even the same sex that might admire him for who he is. They might even less understand what he stands for in policy-wise and so on. There are others who are out there saying that they support Jammeh. But the irony is, those people never support Jammeh when they perceived or believed or knew that Jammeh was with Pastef. These are people that dislike Pastef because of many reasons, and one of the reasons is because of, for themselves, they are supporting a government like Barros, or they are supporting Macky Sall, and whoever supports Barros and Macky Sall should be comfortable to support Yahya Jammeh, especially Macky Sall. Whoever supports Macky Sall should be ever comfortable to support Yahya Jammeh. Human rights abuses within 2 years he have committed them all. Disappearance and people being mutilated, servicemen being mutilated and so on. Rape and everything else have happened. Bodies be abandoned, dead bodies surfacing and everywhere else. Over 2,000 people arrested, political prisoners and everything have been going on. Unreasonably. Just to run a third term or just to suppress an alternative force. Some of them now are supporting the Jammeh thing. They never supported Jammeh when he was, or when he was perceived to be. Now they want this separation. They want, Jammeh to stand, and what Jammeh stand and do to keep the status quo, to be with the Macky Sall guys, people who have been proven convincing the audit reports in the time of market. None of these audit reports are new. Time of market that they have been held accountable for billions. And it's not only in the audit reports. There's evidence of their lifestyle, properties they own. Civil servants become multi-billionaires, millionaires in dollar terms, multi-millionaires dollar terms, multi-billionaires in CFA terms. Average management level people be promoted to be ministers and become billionaires. Evidence everywhere. Their lifestyle and everything, properties they own, their children lifestyle, the properties and what they own. With Senegalese people have been, which led the Senegalese to fight with Pastef, to believe in Sonko, even his moral in how to call it, when he, in fact that's the time they even fought for him more, with the sweet potato scandal. But they see more in him as human, and that's what they support. So people support him, fight for that. For them it's politics. For them is, even they are not benefiting from that corruption, they enjoy to see certain people called elites to be treating them that way. It's a sense of slavery. That's what they are. Others are prejudiced to the extent that they are seeing the Pastef and the leadership Pastef as non-elites. For them who are not even elites, because I know elites who are corrupt in fact, but still look at across the pond and say, no, I support Sonko on this. They don't want it on him. But again, that's what they support. They are against Sonko, they are against Pastef, because they hate themselves. It's not about Sonko. That's why it's not about the internal policy of Senegal, but how it affects us. We all see the evidence that exactly what Macky Sall did, Adama Barrow did. To the extent of 2 to 3 weeks, when Macky Sall's government went on stage that boss and put that boss on fire, and turned round to say that that was said by passive people, which was a lie, in order to term them as terrorists and to arrest them. 3 weeks. What did we see? The Barrow government went and staged. Yes, I am saying they went and staged. And it went wrong for them or what? And they killed 2 police officers and made another one. They started a narrative to try to link it to UDP in order to ban UDP and call them terrorists. Because the same language, terrorists, this is terrorism, and all the narrative from their handlers, social media, was this is UDP, the person was working with youngs, this is this, even to the point of one of the first victims, in fact, who is Pate Jallo. It was deliberate to have someone called Pate Jallo at the scene of the crime, just to justify that 2 days before or 3 days before, UDP have a problem with a Pate Jallo, so that they can say if the assassin they sent is a mistaken identity. The spokesperson came and lied, their cabinet minister sat and lied and called it and terrorism and everything else, their security advisor came and lied, their deputy inspector general police who was in charge of the police came out and lied, and they continued to lie, and they paid someone who was close to the Barrow family, Mama Jammeh, to come and lie. The same thing that Macky Sall did. They brought out witnesses from the bus. They lied about, yes, Lafanyo Duga definitely, which is a lie. You know, they fabricated witnesses. And they used those things to say terrorists, this thing, we ban passive and so on. The way they steal it, and even decline. You see the finance ministers coming to you lying that 80% of this debt is taken by Yahya Jammeh. Convenient. All these years now he's coming to tell you that. The Gambian debt boarding. But we realized last year before elections, when the central bank said that they are going to lift the restrictions on borrowing policy, they'd have to do a policy change. And we have seen the money being spent. Where is that money coming from? We have seen the so-called projects, we are not paid from productivity, from taking profits from anything they've done. Everything is borrowed. Every project they have is borrowed. And they are all inflated projects. Who did that? Macky Sall. And in fact, covering the debt from IMF and others. And I can tell you the same thing is happening with the Gambia. Then what happens in the Gambia is bound to affect Senegal is bound to affect us. If it is something good and progressive, it affects us. Bad, it affects us. If they develop, there's a chance that we will develop. Now, for context, I'm not going into this, we go and come or wherever it is. The problem, it's not between Jammeh and Sonko. The problem is Jammeh trying to stay in power for a second term and wanting, that's the only scenario, wanting the Macky Sall system to stay in thing, all the people, corruption and everything, that human rights abuses not to be dealt with. He started with the word reconciliation. Where did you hear reconciliation before we put before us Barrow's government? We have to have reconciliation, but never talk about justice. Oh, we can just compensate, and there's no compensation. Now, he has started to say what? He have started questioning the audit reports. Who said audit reports were opinion? Barrow. Do you know what Jammeh said? Oh, these audit reports are targeted audit reports. He did not say that they are not correct, they are targeted audit reports. What matters? The data or what? You see, he has started to move away. But so much that he have contradicted himself are now being put in records. Everything he said before, he's going after now. And what Sonko is doing is to be accountable. Saying that we sold you passive, we sold you these principles and everything else. Now, the person we trusted and put as a president is trying to use the power of the incumbency or the power of executive in order to stay in power and to continue against what we fought for. I am not looking for the comfort of state. I could have just stayed with him, aligned myself with him, and we continue fooling the people. No. I am accountable to the people. He went and addressed, report to the people. And by reporting to the people, what he did is to remind Jammeh that, thank God, our separation of power, we have the parliament. And you see, this is why, again, Barrow does not want the constitution that we voted for. Today, Senegal will go into crisis. But if Pastef wants, Senegal will never have a prime minister. Senegal will never have a functional government until elections. Because they have a system where MPs cannot just cross-copy. Any member of parliament being voted as a Pastef member of parliament be what they call sponsored by on a list of Pastef. If you decide that you don't want to be part of this caucus, you lose your seat. But there will be no by-elections. Pastef will go down the list. The second person who was to be candidate would become would be a member of parliament. They can do it till this thing come apart. And at this moment, Pastef is still grassroots. Everything is the same. Is intact. That if he have the powers to dissolve parliament, but he has to constitute elections within 2 months. 2 months or so, some period. It's not enough for him to manipulate anything. And in fact, this time around, in fact, if Pastef goes against, probably they have more power on him. And by him doing all these actions, will be seen as destructive and destructive to Senegal. And the people that fronted for his so-called campaign did not have the leverage to show any difference. Now, this is the politics going on there. But this is where Pastef stand on this. Now, if we encourage, if anybody thinks that this is a good thing to support Jammeh on, that says a lot about that person, especially being a Gambian, knowing what this costs us. Then you are supporting Barrow, and you would likely support Jammeh if Jammeh have done things, with all the crimes he's committed in what you have seen to your interest. Because some people just hate Jammeh or don't like Jammeh, not because of what he did, because he's not their family. If it was their family, they'll support him. The same way. Now, this is the situation that developed. But this situation is not to our interest, Gambia. What Pastef represents, you might dislike some for other reasons and everything, but I cannot see anybody or to be delusional with imperialist mindset, believe in imperialist policies to the extent of thinking, no, but they cannot do it. What they're following is not going to be real. It's not going to be sustainable. Realize. What planet are you from? What planet are you from? Senegal have enough resources of their own. When managed well, why do they bloody need IMF or World Bank? I wish that person that thinks that, I'll tell him to read. Go and read the tiger and the dragon economy, the comparative studies done for the China, India, and Asia, and see if any Asian country has developed based on World Bank and IMF policies. Go and read the economic hitman. Go and read many other these things that exposes this. It's not about that. All those people trying to fault, thinking it's their policies, it's not true. They're either ignorant or they just have this sickness of believing in the imperialist, as we cannot take care of ourselves. That's a lie. If it happens, if Jammeh decided to be strong-headed to follow that route, it's not good for Senegal for many reasons. Because right now, Senegal, in the where they need to follow continuity, they are following continuity. In fact, they are making that continuity to be productive. Projects that have been initiated since the first term of how to call it, Macky Sall, that could not be completed because of corruption, that have eaten billions of CFA, have been completed within the 2 years. High schools, universities, and other form of projects. The water and sanitation project, which was overestimated, is now being delivered. It now is delivered into the for taking from the east and southern part of where there's water. The Senegal, River Senegal, and other flood Senegals and others now have been transported thousands of miles to Linguère, Wallo, and other dry areas, to Fouta, the dry areas, within the 2 years. They made possible and within budget. The agriculture productivity have gone up to the point of now, within 2 years, they are discussing of discouraging importation and negotiating with farmers even to reduce the rice cultivated in the country because of the amount of rice being produced within 2 years due to the interventions from the government. Rice, the prices have gone down, but now they want to even discourage the importation of rice for a period, to allow the farmers to sell. And that have potential even for them to attain enough to start exporting rice. Onions, potatoes, carrots are not imported for a while now. They have achieved enough not to import it. Prices have gone down. Onions, carrots, and potatoes. Now they have factories now already, in fact, processing onion to be dry, fried, and other form of this thing to be exported. Value has been added. All the contracts and the maritime contracts on fisheries and everything, anyone that due for the renegotiations have been cancelled, and to look at a better way to run their maritime resources. Now the local fishermen are, not taking the risk or burdened by expense in order to load their boats and come and sell fish at a affordable price, which the EU and other imperialist countries don't like. The mining industry, it's not that the people doing the mining are increasing the hours or anything efficiency. Now they are declaring the right amount that they have extracted. Accountability now over two digits percentage, and I don't want to call the wrong number, but I can tell it's over 2 digits of over 30 of almost 40% increase in gold and other metal extracted. They have renegotiated those mining and stuff like phosphate. Now they're going into the process of processing phosphate for fertilizer. Do you know that impact is going to do? And do you know why the former government did not do all this? Because of France and other countries don't want that to happen. They want to keep them dependent, and the wealth to be going to the imperialists, not to go to Senegalese. The oil and gas. Price of oil and gas, domestic Senegal is going down against IMF advice. That's why they refuse to take IMF structural programs. Because they know because they know what they're dealing with. But the international doesn't like it. Now, amount of petrol that should be going out now is being processed in the refineries in Senegal. Refineries in Senegal. They have recruited over 2,000 lecturers to decongest the universities. They have just voted the law to empower teachers and university lecturers to have more say in the education and other stuff. We can go on and go on. But you know, the biggest thing was to expose IMF. You know, many people don't even understand what Pastef did. Pastef did not do it only to expose Macky Sall. No, they are doing it because that was responsible to do. And people say that it's underreporting or this is a lie. Monies were paid at private accounts, open commercial accounts, did not go to the right channels. And it's not been accounted for. And they underreported, the debt level, the debt of the district. It's not that they put a district, no. It's a complete fraud. But IMF knew about that. Because IMF, it's not there to help you to be independent. Economic independent, that's a lie. There is no shopkeeper that want all these customers to be independent of their shop. They want you to keep on coming back. Can you not understand that? But Senegal have dealt with this in a way and manner that exposed IMF itself. Now IMF came out and to accept that this has happened. Now Senegal turned around to say them, you took part in this fraud for that matter, and you expect us to pay you at the rate that everything was done. We need to renegotiate this debt for repayment. Senegal did not say we're not going to pay it, because they know a former government took it. They're obliged to pay, but again, the partner that gave it have done things wrong. In the process, a contract have been broken, and this is what they're negotiating now. And they said no. The restructuring you're talking about, saying that we are not to subsidize the cost of living, not to subsidize purchase cost of production. You mad? When every developed country, again, if you read the comparative studies, the dragon and the tiger economy, you will see where they went different to what the norm is on African countries or other third world countries following the development trajectory of this first world. In the United Kingdom here, farmers are subsidized even not to farm, to control prices. Milk is cheaper than water. Milk is cheaper than water from the tap. But they will tell you, oh, Africa, you shouldn't subsidize your cost of living. This is what Pastef stands for. Now they are structured. Pastef knew the corruption they have arrested. There's not a single credible allegations of corruptions against any Pastef member, and Sonko have said it, you will be facing the trial if you do. In African countries, think we can do things because it's not what the white man said. That shows the ignorance of that African man. The corruption they have arrested. Now projects are done and delivered on time, on budget. All these political projects from Macky Sall, a train service that runs 20 kilometers, 50 kilometers, at the cost of a train, of hundreds of kilometers if they have gone with the right companies and the right investments. No, because that project have to be delivered because of France needed to keep their company to not go bust, to keep jobs in France and everything. They went for that train, this thing running between Dakar, when that could have probably get to the borders of Mali. Go and look at the blueprint, what Pastif is working on. The blueprint that the trains will be crossing from your Farafenni end to get to Casamas. And a train will be going to Tamba, get to Casamas, and get to and to the borders of Guinea-Bissau and Mali. And if Mali allow it, they will link their trains. Trains will run to the borders of train will run the entire crisscross of Senegal, and they know they can do it. A port that should open up the Senegalese economy like no other single infrastructure project. The port at Nangan. Nangan is the suburb of Mbour. That port, since Ablaye Wade, it could not be delivered because of the French don't want it to be delivered. They signed with Dubai War. That port with Macky Sall could not be delivered. They signed with Dubai War. Pastef came. They forced when the Prime Minister Sonko went to the African countries. Already developed an energy project that will guarantee not energy supply for the people, for industrial growth, because refineries consume energy. To be affordable energy to justify a refinery, that's why you need a blueprint to develop. Not 5 years development plan. They need a blueprint. They know the amount of energy they require and the cost it should be in order to be feasible to bring the refineries in Senegal. To the extent of going to Sierra Leone, convincing Sierra Leone that we can refine your ore, and a better deal that you will get more from it, because they know Sierra Leone will not be ready the time Senegal will ready to do this. They went to Niger, they went to Mali, they went to all those other countries that they can reach, because what Morocco is trying to do the same thing with the French, of course, to keep sub-Saharan Africa poor dependent, to run their trains from their ports to Niger, which would be about over 1,000 kilometers longer than if it from Senegal to Niger. Sonko went for that because part of their blueprint. Part of their blueprint. After having MOUs and bilateral agreements with these countries, he went to China and sat with China days talking about technical, not pump, this thing, technical on issues that China respect, that these people know detail, these people know what they want, and China know what they benefit from. They had their agreements and everything of this energy, this road infrastructure, that transfer of every bit they negotiated on par, and came back. Then they went to Dubai War and put all this leverage they have, showing the viability of that port with the Senegalese government, and the need to be quick to do it and discourage the Moroccans and the French. You think the French will like Sonko? Dubai doesn't have the foresight. They know Sonko is the brain behind it, and the leadership he puts behind it. Technocrats. He constituted a team of experts to evaluate every contract they have ever get in, and renegotiated all the contracts. The rural electrification projects added 30, after the renegotiations, they have 30% more contribution from the investor. 30% more. And all the investor pointed out corruption of what? Invoice inflation to justify their charges, and so the government said to them, those invoice inflations have been put down, and we have the 30% on our projects. Now 30% more villages are covered into this deal. Let's come back to the report. Already Dubai Wall, they signed within weeks. Dubai Wall just came and now continuing the project. Guess what? Part of the formal negotiations they had with Macky Sall, the jointed infrastructure, the roads and orders to connect, was to be responsible by Senegal. But guess what? They renegotiated that now Dubai Wall will be contributing that part of their investments. If that port's open, Gambia, we are in trouble. Because of domestic only. And if it's more efficient, in fact, some people might be importing from Senegal. Our port, if you're not careful, that's why the Turkish are taking as much as they can. Because in years, there might be not much to take. The operational cost might overshadow the revenue collection because of the government we have. And you know, the white port, when they failed in Senegal, they came to Gambia. And guess what? It was Macky Sall and the corruption from Barrow that stopped Dubai Wall from actualizing the port in the Gambia, which would have been more feasible. These are the things they have. That's why when Sonko went out there, he went out there to be accountable to the people that voted for them for that 54%. He went there to accountable to the Senegalese people, even who did not vote for him, that our president want to go against this, and we are not going. We are going to stand against that. And to show this French, the IMF and imperialists undermining, who wants the old order, that Senegalese are behind Pastef. Are behind Pastef. If we don't wish well for Senegal, we are not wishing well for ourselves. If Pastef delivers success and everything else, that will positive on Gambia, because the youths will be learning from that. But if Pastef fail, it's not only to failure Senegal, and it will set Senegal far more back, but I tell you, Gambia is likely to follow that trajectory. Gambia to follow that trajectory. This is why it will be a distraction. It will be detrimental to Senegal's economic growth, and it can even pose a risk to their national security. Again, this is where we come to geopolitics. And that risk to national security, remember, Gambia is within Senegal. Remember, it's affect Gambia first before anywhere else. But let's just look at the geopolitics in a minute. Guinea-Bissau elections is not going to be conclusive. In a sense, whoever stays in power, if they change the government, change what's his name, Mbalo, there is some bit of hope that, but not real hope, because the people that are going to come are nearly the same thing. They are just merely the same kind of politicians. Guinea-Bissau still would not find the stability, because this is why it's important for transitions to happen. And this is where Senegal have been fortunate to have their transition from colonial and even staying in neo-colonial, but they have managed to do certain things is to mature some of their institutions. And some of those institutions are the civil institutions, civil society and others, religious movements and others. There's more complex, more difficult to govern if you want to do bad, but easier to govern if you want to do good, because of the progressives. They have progressive. But in Guinea-Bissau, we all know what happened from the war. That's why it's lack of transition from the colonial, the war and everything. They are still an unstable country. And it might flame in any time. And hence there's a lack of democracy, lack of good governance and everything, and the corruption with the drug cartel, and there's nothing for that country to be hopeful for. And again, these potentials we have in sub-Saharan Africa right now, or Africa, which is turning to be a ticking time bomb, if it's a youthful population. Youthful population should be a potential for growth. If we invest in them, skill them up, educate them, invest in them, invest in the environment to create an environment for them to be within this first world economies. Sub-Saharan African can invest in the youths to be in the tech and everything else to transform. Again, go and read the Tiger and the Dragon economies. The transformation of Bangalore, the Bangalore project. Today, go to America. All the major tech firms are run by what? Why Trump is thinking again of this A1 visa, they call it, or what? It's mostly because of the tech. The Bangalore. It wasn't magic. It was strategic thinking and investment. Go and read the comparative studies between this China and this thing on tech. China had to, in fact, redesign its education curriculum to catch up. This is why today China is innovative in this thing. Go and look at the car industry and others. It's education, skills. But our youths are, in fact, become a ticking time bomb on us. These are all challenges Bissau have. But the lack of governance stability is not likely to save one. It's a risk. Again, as I said, I am not in support of any single military government, especially that continue to hold on to power. I'm not supporting any coup d'etat, especially continue to stay in power. Where pragmatism is, accept the realities. Guinea-Conakry. Soon you'll be looking for the polo footers in your street, you won't find them. They'll all be back to Guinea. Go and study the economic plan they delivering, and looks like they're solidly doing that. Solidly doing that. Because they have oversubscribed of resources. The best of iron ore. And every bit of industrial or raw material you need is in Guinea. I cannot pronounce some of them. Gold, diamond, and others, forestry. And the population comparative to the wealth of that country is small. Past government could not utilize because of their feebleness. With the military government, we know he's going to stay. He have money to insulate himself, to secure himself, and he's going to rig the elections probably. But again, he will stay. But with what he started and what he projected, I can tell you the wealth that will be generated in Guinea and the infrastructure already they putting on cement, everything you need for the resource development in Guinea. Water is abundant for agriculture. The soil is so rich. They are not into fertilizers. Go and look at the soil. Where the muddy fields are, the soil is black of richness. Look at the forest cover, everything, because of the nourishment from the organics that are rushing up to the soil. Everything is fertile. Already certain regions are overproducing, but there are no markets because of where those regions are. it takes them a longer time to get to Senegal and other places because of the road infrastructures. Now they are breaking all those mountains, those hills, to put in the road infrastructures to the border of Senegal so that they can export. Go and look at their port project right now for minerals and other things. But in fact, they are looking at all, in fact, bringing in refineries to refine most of these products and add value. And do you realize how sophisticated their diaspora is? If it's come to money, they might not be very sophisticated in politics, but in money, they have it, and now they have in the beliefs of sense of belonging to Guinea, regardless of their tribal differences. I think if you engage in Guinea, you understand the possibilities there. And look at the tourism they're promoting right now, because you have more to see if it comes to nature. Almost every region has its waterfalls, the forests, the mountains, and many outdoor things to do. And these are things that rich tourists go for. They have the beaches, they have all those things when it comes to around the capital end. But if you go good, these are all things they're looking at, and these are all things they're doing at the same time. What I'm saying here is, Guinea is one that will not worry Senegal or not this. They are just going to complement each other. But Guinea-Bissau is a problem, just as Gambia would be a problem. Mali, they are bothered with Mali. There's a lot of potential, but Mali is struggling to quell these jihadists. And recently we have seen the fracas or the conflict that now the jihadists are coming around the borders of Senegal, which is very intensely cutting off supplies from Senegal to the government, which have a destabilizing effect. Now, Gambia is contained. Our internal struggles and problems, we'll deal with it. If it flares up, I can tell you Senegal have vested interest to see the stability of Gambia. And hence Gambia is small, and they have so much of intelligence on us, they can easily preempt certain things and sniff it off. God forbid it happen a week or two, I can tell you things will go back to order. Because of the interest of Senegal in Gambia being peaceful, Gambia not be destabilizing is a big factor in them, and they will look at it. But if Senegal today is distracted because of their politics that Jammeh is trying to bring in, rather to allow the reforms of justice reforms to make sure the perpetrators of these crimes are dealt with, just as to avoid what Barrow have done to us, those crimes will be committed again. There will never again. If Jammeh refuses Senegal to continue to hold accountability to people who have perpetrated serious crimes, in cahoots with the imperialists, to create elites of thieves and unworthy citizens, and that continued Senegal would go into flames, because of the youth populations are all awakened, and we have saw them give their life, continue to give their life. It wasn't for Sonko, it's what Sonko has promised them, and that now is living fire in their hearts. If Senegal, all these tensions grow up, it's unfortunate. But what happened in Mali can be destabilizing into Senegal. What happened in Bissau can be destabilizing to Senegal. Their economic trajectory would completely fail. But as I said, because of their sources in their transition, they have managed to have institutions. This is what will help. The police, the gendarme, part of the police interior, and the army and everything else, they were able to deal with independently to many crises without completely the country completely being destabilized. But it will be a great front. We all know what happened in Casamance. And if Bissau goes into certain ways, Casamance is at risk at inflaming again, because it creates an environment that Casamance can inflame again. And they don't want a front in Casamance, and if they are busy with a front in Casamance, the jihadists might have an idea to keep the insurgency around the Senegalese border. But again, they are insulated in one way, is their tariqa and ideology and other things are more these things to jihadists, and they have that social capital to use, in other words, to deal with these issues. These are these things. And if people, I have seen people giving examples of Blaise Compaoré and Sankara, or Senghor and Mohamed not Mohamed sorry guys, Prime Minister Jah, that was the partner to Senghor. And I know why this is very difficult to people. I know why this is very, very difficult to people. First is the relationship, personal relationship Jammeh had with Sonko. This is not the same as Dabo and Barrow. No. This is not the same as former Prime Minister Jah and Senghor. This is not the same as Sankara and Blaise. I'll tell you what. The environment, everything. They have a personal relationship, and the personal relation was not cultivated by Sonko, and this is based on narrative of how to call it, Jammeh, and there's evidence. Jammeh said that he admitted the young man Sonko at the time they meet at the working place. I think Sonko was there, his senior, about 5 years before also, and he admired him because Sonko took up a challenge that was not allowed, that unions to operate in civil service. But not only it was later allowed because he fought for it at the customs department, but later it was replicated at the at levels of different levels of civil service. And he said the tenacity and whatever Sonko used to maintain that position until Sonko left, and even he took over from Sonko, he admired that. The time the evidence won, he went on to name a child, I'm not sure whether it's the first child or not, but a male child, for Sonko, was not because it was when Sonko was jobless, when Sonko was already driven out of office. But it was when they started PASTEF, he was one of the people that proposed that Sonko should lead the PASTEF. Sonko was not elected in a Congress. A leadership came together, and he was nominated to lead because of his character and what he have achieved, demonstrated as a leader at that time. That admiration, he named a child after him, without even letting Sonko know. Someone is expecting so Ben Suwareh now today suma jabar wasin na tay. No. Apparently Sonko knew when he went last payment, when he went to Ngente the child is named for Sonko. They went on, and this is what developed. They had a relationship, and Sonko decided, out of everybody, that's him I trust. And he came into the presidency a few months. The second wife had a child, and he named the child a girl child to Sonko's mom. What else? That's why people say I didn't see this coming. If you read history of governance, go to the Ottomans and see Sulayman the Great, what happened with his parents. Go to the Mongols. Go everywhere. People topple their fathers for ideological reasons or orders. It happens. Their own parent or own brother, not half brothers, own brother. It happens. You see, you don't calculate humans. I know as Muslims or people or good people would want to have this Rafet Njorta or so on, but yes, it happens. You look at all this, this guy will never betray him. But I once said something to someone that was seeking advice He said, "Oh, this guy is like my father, is my father's friend. They were in Sierra Leone together." He started entrusting money to this person. I said to him, "Be careful." "Oh, I said, "Depends how much you give him." I said, there might be a threshold for many people. I'm not saying all people. One can talk for themselves. I'm not talking about all people, but there might be a threshold. And for Jammeh, probably threshold came in becoming a president. That's why I cannot accept people blaming the wife, blaming other people. "Oh, Satan, that's a lie." This is what Jammeh wants to do. He's just been found out. He has reached his threshold. If he'd never been a president, probably this would not have been found out of him. He's not doing it because of he doesn't like Sonko. He's not doing it because he did not believe in the policies or what Passive stood for. He's doing it because he's selfish. Because he's selfish, he didn't find out. Now, this is things we need to understand about what happened and where it might affect us, Gambia. But we wish them all. Not much to know about their internal politics, but it's fascinating. If anyone said, "Why guys follow Senegalese politics?" You're not doing it for the Senegals. You're doing it for your own education, especially a young person or someone interested in governance and so on. It's something to be learned, to learn a lot from. Do you know why the difference is here? It's the first time in this war that an anti-establishment have taken over power without barrel of the gun, without going to civil war or war. This is the first time an anti-establishment had the leadership that are not from elitist background. Kwame Nkrumah was elitist. He was an elitist background. Asante Dissing. In the case of Passive, most of all their leaders are from very disadvantaged backgrounds. They just attain middle management to junior senior management. They cannot be termed as elitists at all. And finally, let's come back to Gambia in a brief. Abroad at 2.5 hours. I never try to see this much. Gambia in brief. Don't tell me I didn't write it. Oh, thank you. I want to go on brief here. Probably less than I have intended. The Jammeh Commission. This is in regards to Ami Ben Suwareh and the Blue Ocean properties. Okay. We all agree here. The entire process, the entire handling of the process, and the environment that the Jammeh Commission operated needed scrutiny and accountability. Now, this is a fact. Now, if we are looking at this is how important it should be for Gambians. But this is not deducting that. Some of us are using it as a political tool, which is very unfortunate, especially right now. It's been from the beginning, and going back on, it's even getting worse. Shouldn't be a political tool. But again, we should not condemn or assume that all that's holding accountability here is because of a political tool. No. And no member of the Jammeh Commission or people, civil servants and others that took part in the processes of the Jammeh Commission can be looked at or hold holier than might in any other form. You can do that individually. But if we come to the scrutiny, let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the environment. Let's look at what have transpired. Not, oh, because it's Ben Suwareh. Oh, I know Ben Suwareh. Oh, I don't think Ben Suwareh would do this or do that. Once that is the premise of it, you have already, exposed yourself to be influenced by other factors or refusing to see the facts and evidences. But let's see the nature of commissions. I am not a fan of commissions. Do you know what? Go and look at it. Commissions, even in what they term the advanced countries, commissions are a way and means, not for an inquiry, way and means for the executive to manipulate, to control a narrative, to present a different narrative, to allow to disallow accountability and undermine the rule of law. This is what the executive do with commissions. Why? 9/11 commissions in America. Is it still a controversy? It's not about conspiracies. Commissions came out, pages and pages retracted because of the governance in place at that time that set up the commissions, will view that not to be to their interest. It's not to protect the public interest. The secrecy is determined because of the people it's going to hurt. It's not that the fact is going to hurt the Americans or other people that have interest in it. No. Retracted. Pages and pages. Now, people are scrutinizing the testimonies and others are now seeing these are not conspiracies. I have my idea based on my theory, based on what I see. I am not saying that those they accused of doing it did it. That's stupid to say. The evidence said that they were in the plane and they did it. All the conspiracy around it's so stupid. But who else did it with them? What facilitated doing it them? In intelligence, this is what we do. You can get people to do something that is to their benefit. For example, people say, oh, but the Israelis knew it was going to happen. Yes, they knew it was going to happen. But they know that if it happens, and even they can help to facilitate it happen, probably they even created the idea on the people that did it. That's why if you are a fanatic, be careful. You might think that you are doing something best for your movement, but someone is controlling you to do it so that they can tarnish your movement and justify any action against you. I believe that the Zionists and all the interest group knew what was happening, and in fact they facilitated, they make it possible and everything, let all the gates open for them, arrange it, they happen for this to happen because they want it to happen so that they can justify the actions they're going to take to withdraw their interests and so on. I believe in that. But again, that's a theory I believe in, not based on that I've seen the facts, but the theory. But again, this is the problem with it. Let's come to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, we have what we call Bloody Sunday inquiries. We have what we call the Hillsborough inquiries. We have what we call the latest one, the COVID-19 inquiries. We have what we call an inquiry, I forget about it, it's about a boat that sank in the Thames. If you know this Thames, how shallow it is, sank in the Thames. We have inquiry about Iraq war and everything. Go and look at all the outcome. Millions have been spent. What's the outcome? Time pass, narrative change, no accountability, nothing have been looked into and studied and delivered. You see, that's why I'm not fan of it. Now, let's look at the Jammeh Commission or commissions in the Gambia. It's the same thing. It was set up to do this. If you want to find facts, economic crime, use forensic investigators to go through things. That's how far you find facts. But for economic crimes, you go into a commission of inquiry, it's just redress to something else. And this is what have transpired. The entire process, many these things. One thing, another thing, if the parliamentary commissions, the same thing. Parliamentary commissions have been going in the UK, it's still going on. Many commissions are going to end up to come out the same thing. It's different from a court of law. That's why you need a competent investigations and take it to the court of law to be determined. That's why people say commissions are not court of law. Now, to look at commissions and just exonerate someone, they might not have done anything wrong, but does not mean that they haven't done something wrong. Look at commissions and just find someone guilty or responsible might be right, but might not be right, because of the process of testing facts are not there in a commission as it is in a court of law. The fourth point in a court of law is you are there testifying to save yourself from going to prison. You'll be locked up. Then the point of hiding for someone else is not likely. In the commissions, many people are hiding for other people. Even the parliamentary, many people are hiding still. They cut them out for certain things, but still they're hiding for powerful people ahead. That's why we will never know the actual facts. But take these people to the court of law. See what happened to them. But the people to take them court of law don't want them to go through the court of law because what might come out of it. One, because of it's about taking an oath to testify in a court of law with the outcome of the court of law sanctions that will lead to prison. But in a commission, it's sanctions to make recommendations, and those recommendations cannot even be effected without a court of law. I'll come to that. Justice Omar Njai, High Court judge, I think he's a Supreme Court now, took a ruling about the confiscated properties from Jammeh and made the point, ruling that the properties cannot be sold based on the outcome of the commission or recommendation of the commission. It's not grounded in law. The executive cannot execute the recommendation that did not go to the judicial process, the judicial process, to the courts. And that ruling was because of Al-Karafi's property with Gambia government, Al-Karafi. I think someone called Mr. Sonko was a responsible representing Al-Karafi's company, the company Al-Karafi. Now, the facts about the commissions, it's not only what transpired in the commission, but what was left outside the commission. This is the environment. We know that many properties were not listed to go through the Jammeh commissions, but those properties were taken away from Jammeh's listed properties. Listed properties. I'm not talking about whether he got them legally or not. By at that time and position, the lease and documents are in his name or in his company name. But they were not taken to the commission, Jammeh commission, to be determined. Why not? Because some of those properties were shared among the executive and executive handlers. There are properties in Bullfoot, bit fund, whatever you call them, given to ministers. They were listed on the Jammeh's deeds. And so many others. Now, the parliamentary committee did something even more better than the commission. Some people now, because of they put certain things have come to fact and they put them to it, or they started admitting, yeah, all the cattle died, or this, okay, now we have seen a list of this, list of it, but it had to go through process, people demonstrating even for that to come out. Then tell you the commission have done a shabby job. For it to need to be investigated itself, it have done a shabby job. Just as today, you can go and investigate the commission of TRRC, because they've done a shabby job. A shabby job. Then commissions, we have to have that understanding of what commissions are. Once you go to the courts, you give evidence, and you can be held to prejudice. Prejudice under the commission. You give evidence, testimony. That's your evidence. There's a lawyer there, or a person there, to cross-examine your evidence. Then your lawyer can come after the evidence to examine what have transpired between your evidence and that your lawyer might have led you to. Then with the defense cross-examination to probably make certain things clear, or obviously protect you for your evidence. Then it goes through the judge. The judge have to base on evidence to give a verdict that's presented to the court in the form of checking the exhibits, that's the material evidence, by evaluating the testimony, evidence given these things, that's the statement evidences, looking at all that, cross-checking what have transpired, these things, and look all this. And where the verdict points to, they do. And if they misrule that, or do a poor judgment on it, there's two other layers to determine the final outcome of the judgment. If you are not happy, you can go to the other layers of the courts. And then the final layer has to be taken. If you quit from here, accepting the judgment, fine, then that will be taken. But only Allah knows the facts. Even at that point, still, there might be some, but the probability of it being a wrong judgment is far reduced. Compare this to proceedings from a commission of inquiry. We need to establish this first before we have to move on. Then you would ask the wisdom of the chairman of the select committee at the parliament to answer to a point made by lawyer Yahya Ben Suwareh. Because lawyer Yahya Ben Suwareh, one of the most experienced, almost 40 years of practice, if I'm right, especially in commercial law. No one is better than her in that. But before the committee, yes, he's been given all the respect, everything, but the is to the evidence he produced that have been evaluated. For the Yahya Ben Suwareh to ask, I can't remember the exact words, whether she was exonerated from wrongdoing and his family members are exonerated from wrongdoing. He pointed this to the chairman. And the chairman, because of inexperience or whatever, fell for it and gave the verdict before the conclusion of testimonies and the report been adopted. Oh yes, you have been exonerated. And again, that's now been used as a political point to say that, you see, all the people, especially towards Mamadou Kurang, who had made direct allegations to the lawyer Yahya Ben Suwareh, and now he been hounded for all you see, regardless that he have a legal case to take to go to. They use it as proof. The chairman is wrong to give that answer. All the chairman should say, thank you, ma'am, for your presence and your taking time to answer us, and this. But everything will be determined in the final reports. If anyone have asked her when she was the lead counsel at the Jammeh Commission, she would not commit herself to that. She will tell you, if we need anything, we'll call you. The chairman so. Because part of the question, Lawyer Ben Suwareh posed that I did not buy any property, or my family have not buy, my children or family have not bought any properties from the Jammeh's properties. But court of law, you can acquire properties without buying them. And it still can be legally your own or not your own. See? The chairman turned around to say, okay, we are not only looking at that, whether you bought or not. We are looking at whether you were reallocated a property or allocated a property that might have been listed under the Jammeh properties. Because the chairman did not do that, probably the chairman was not aware of the coming testimony that it came from the managing director of Gambia Tourism Board. Few days after, the managing director of Gambia Tourism Board came and made a read because he was reading the deeds of a property. Deeds of a property, and from what the managing director Buba Kamara read out is a property that was listed or still listed under Jammeh's name, was transferred. I'm not technically here. I'm not using the technical word for it. I mean, let's say it ended up in the hands of a person who is a child to Ami Ben Suwareh. Now, when the testimony came out, something else was now in the air. Now, there was certain people came out very genuinely, very genuine concern. Now, the chairman, what transpired there, because I never followed the testimony of lawyer Ami Ben Suwareh in the parliament. That bit that was cut out of the conversation, that's why I relied on. Now thinking, now what's here? Then the Blue Ocean Properties, which is alleged owned by the son of Ami Ben Suwareh, put a press release to say that they were allocated a property from that environment. They distance themselves that property was owned by Jammeh. Probably, as far as they know, the property was not listed for Jammeh. But again, the commission did not determine that. Why the commission did not do it? And they have the chance now to determine this. Now it's like, would Ami be called upon again? It's already been discharged from it. Or would Ami's son be called upon? Because it's not Ami. Son come out now to let them determine how this property is attained. You see, again, the chairman was wrong in concluding acknowledgement to answer the way he answered to lawyer Ben Suwareh. To lawyer Ben Suwareh. Now, some properties saying that they are allocated might not be allocated. They might perceive as allocated, knowingly or non-knowingly, but it sounds like reallocation. What's the reallocation mean? Allocated means a reserve land, you apply for it, it's given to you. Reallocation means Ben Suwareh owns the land, and for whatever infringement or whatever not serving the contract that Ben Suwareh is given that land for, that land is reprocessed from Ben Suwareh. Then when it's given to someone else, it's a reallocation. The land was originally allocated. The allocations come out from when it first moved to the first party. Then if that land moves onto other parties, it's a reallocation when that land is lawfully re-entered. But if it is determined that the land was not lawfully re-entered to the state, the land is still, the evidence is still that the land is still listed under Jammeh That means that a land that is listed under Jammeh is being reallocated or wrongfully reallocated to blue-owned properties, to blue-owned blue ocean properties. This is the facts we need to follow for the commission to look into. Thank you very much for all of those supporting the platform. This is what the evidence we need to look at. Then a further hearing is needed to determine this. And this is why it's premature and wrong for the chairman to exonerate, to say that, oh no, Ami Bensouda, yes, you did not buy anything and your children didn't buy anything. Because of the question Ami put to the chairman is buy. It's not about allocated or reallocated. Now, the evidence before, and I say this, again, this is what I keep on saying. That managing director, I don't know him. But it shows you the incompetence of that managing director. But it shows again the incompetence of the administration, or even the chaotic, corrupt way of it. The managing director cannot tell you offhand how they govern. Or are you autonomous or semi-autonomous or what? No, he cannot tell you based on fact. He cannot just tell you what's on the parliamentary, what's on the status of their entity. For a managing director, you should know your this thing offhand. Until the lawyer have to even lead him to say, or was it created by an act of parliament? Oh, yes, it's created by act of parliament. Oh, now he's going back to say something completely different or slightly different. Oh, yeah, but because according to the what's the name for it? The law that governs, we have to. You can be independent fully, but does not mean that you don't have a working relationship with your ministry. There are certain things that makes the decision you take. How do you take that decision? If the decision is taken from the board level, then you are independent. That's why a board is created, an act of parliament is created to make this completely clear. It tells you the trouble we are. That's why I said we have to look at all the environment this thing was operating and the time it was operating. At that time, Lawyer Ben Suwareh was the lead counsel for the Jammeh Commission. At that time, Lawyer Ben Suwareh's brother, at that time or around that time, was the head of the civil service because he came and testified. Habib Blane. You see the environment it's operating. That's why people who are critical should not be seen as political posturing or this thing. But they are people obviously doing everything and it's based on politics. And there are people defending because it's based on politics. But the environment itself we have to look at. We have to look at what was operating. Now to determine the ownership. You see, this is what I hate. That's why when I see Ibrahim Sisi, Dr. Ibrahim Sisi of Birmingham, because he puts this, I know his relationship with Batabedo. And in fact, if I was the Bensoudas, I would be mad at him. Because he did not write for Batabedo after Batabedo's testimony. Now, because of this statement that the chairman have made, the ill-informed, guarded statement about Ami Bensouda, now he's trying to take that Ami Bensouda leverage to paint Batabedo proper and attack him, because I take it personal. I've never accused Ami Bensouda. I'm not scared of any legal thing. Whenever I made a statement, I can stand against. I've never accused her directly of doing anything. But I have challenged, attacked Batabedo when he was even a minister. He have promised to take legal actions. He have gone through intermediaries to shut me down. He have gone through journalists to come after me. Pay journalists, try to pay a journalist to come after me. That person said, you don't need to pay me, just give me anything you believe he's up to, and I'll publish. he have gone through writing response to me using the word concerned citizen. For Ibrahim Cisse, Dr. Ibrahim Cisse, to come out to insult our collective intelligence, to paint a criminal or potential criminal because he's taken to trial. Binta Cisse, everything. The main corruption was run by Bartholomew from every angle, with bringing Alpha Barry in it. Binta having a company called MOAB, I don't know, MOAB, created a company to be given another land that was re-entered. It was not still re-entered. You see now, if you bring in the Binta's case here, that Binta was given a land, Bartholomew girlfriend then, later become wife, given a land that was still with Rescom. The land was only given to her, demarcated for her, given by, and the land was under Rescom, leased under Rescom. Now later, when the noise came, they returned the land, they return the allocation letter, whatever, and take their deposit. And took their deposit. What does it say? What does it say that this land, according to the GTBoard, the land is still listed on the Jammeh? Why is it still listed on the Jammeh? Why were all this land not re-entered? The lawyers know this more than Ben Suwareh. I only know because I buy properties. I make sure I don't touch a land, and I dealt with people who bought properties or who look into properties. I'll never buy a land that is not grounded in law. You search and make sure everything is done. That's why you pay a lawyer. Even lawyers pay a lawyer to do that. Because you, as a person looking after your affairs, you might miss things, but you pay a lawyer that you can hold accountable to look into the transaction and everything, and you pay to the lawyer's farm account, and that lawyer complete the transaction. This is why it's done that way. Now, what is this telling us? The continued failure of the Jammeh Commission. All the properties, and we don't know if there's some more. I can tell you another case. A property forcefully bought by Jammeh. I think that property, one of the second wife, the young lady she married before, was living there. The person never sold the property to Jammeh. The Jammeh had to send Amadou Samba to do that transaction. To do that transaction. And Amadou Samba went and approached the intermediary who was looking after the property. The person who owns the property was working in the international. The person, caretaker of the property, said to Amadou, I contacted this man, he said he's not selling. Guess what? The caretaker was arrested, taken to NIA, tortured. That's what Yahya Jammeh did. Tortured. And this guy, empathy for the person looking after his property, he was forced to sell. How did he sell? Jammeh named the price. The guy went on to bring, I think, 2 to 3. I know the guy's lawyer. 2 to 3 appraisals of the property. The fourth one was to prove how the property was built. One of it was appraisal accepted by the bank that financed the property, to show that the value of the property is far exceeded what Jammeh is forcing to pay. The guy wanted to save a life, accepted the transaction. When it comes to it, guess what? When Jammeh left, the guy came to say that I want to return the money. Jammeh paid, and I want my property back because I didn't willfully sell it. And any sane person will know it. What did they do? The Jammeh Commission returned the property to the state, did not list it on the Jammeh proceedings. The guy went to the proceedings and said, no, it's not with us. Guess what? It's still with the state. They're trying to take it away from the guy. I don't know, since last I checked, about 2 years ago, the state was still holding that property. Is that not a straight transaction that the government could have decided. No, actually, your testimony, we have seen the proof and everything. Even the statement at the guy taken to NIA and everything is in the file. And they refused to return the guy property with payment. That's why the corruption around this Jammeh Commission. That's why you cannot just turn around to say, oh, Ben Suwareh is clear. This is no. It should be based on evidence. But unfortunately, following these contractions would not bring about the facts. It's still mere in people being economical with it, people lying and everything, and the unwillingness of justice to prevail. The parliamentary committee, they're doing a brilliant job. The lawyers are doing a brilliant job. But to be candid, they don't have the expertise to get to this. Private forensic investigators should have dealt with this and gather all the evidence and take it to the rule of law, to the courts, and judiciously be dealt with. This could, if not, we will continue. If not, we will continue dealing with this issue. And end of the day, even people who have not done wrong, their image and this thing will be tarnished. But people who have done wrong will get away with it here. I don't think the hereafter. Thank you very much, guys. It's gone 3 hours. I was targeting 2 hours, but the issues are quite serious, and I hope it's understood the way it is presented. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for all of those that donated to the platform on your stars. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very well. Thank you.